Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Africentric. We are here for a Facebook Live to preview the girls' basketball state tournament as well as everything else going on this weekend. I'm Dave Purpura, along with Jarrod Ulrey, and our guest to begin the show is Coach Will McKinney. Good to meet you for me.
Jarrod Ulrey, my man.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are going to play on Thursday night. You get Ottawa Glandorf coming out of the Western Buckeye League in the state semifinal. What is this, your ninth time at state, I think? Mm-hmm. What's this run been like for you here this year?
Man, it's been great this year. Different group of kids. I lost 5 seniors. We got a lot of young girls this year. We start 2 sophomores, a freshman. No, actually, we start 3 sophomores, a freshman and a junior. So it's been somewhat of an exciting ride this year. I've really been enjoying it. Just watching these young ladies grow up and get better and better with each game. It's been quite a pleasure, to be honest with you. It's been exciting.
Okay.
Like Dave was saying, I mean, this is your 9th time heading to state. You've won 5 state titles. What do you think has helped this program sustain such excellence for such a long time?
Just expectations. You know, when you come to a place and the expectation is to play your hardest and do your best, that alone makes a big difference because a lot of times when you have programs, they don't have expectations. You know, I mean, so a lot of the better programs that are around here, the story programs, first and foremost, when you come to those schools, you know what the expectations are. So everybody walking through the door, they're putting their best foot forward.
Well, you got a test on Saturday from Highland. You win that one in overtime. You know, it's always tough at this stage of the game. What do you know about Ottawa Glandorf at this point?
Oh, that they're very good. You know, this is their 4th time in a row making it to the state tournament. They're another story program. I know they got a couple, they go deep on their bench. They like to play kind of just like us. They like to get after you, go up and down. They like to push the ball. They like to pressure the basketball. So it should be a fun game.
You like kind of Ohio State, kind of feel like second home to you guys being there so much over the years?
Yeah, I love going to the shop. It's just wonderful, and we go there every summer for the team camp. You know, I'm over there throughout the year, sitting in on some practices, checking in on Lexa, you know, talking to Coach McGuff. So yeah, it's definitely a nice feel getting over there.
All right, Coach. Well, hey, we appreciate you taking a couple minutes of an always busy week.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you guys,
Here.
man. No doubt.
Kenny, it'll be Africentric and Ottawa Glandorf coming up on Thursday night.
All right, cool.
Appreciate it.
No doubt. Take it easy, Jerry. Nice to meet you, man.
Good to meet you again. So,
Yep.
It's my first time. Obviously, you've talked to Coach McKinney for many years. And,
Many years.
You know, keep previewing this game. What stands out to you about this matchup? I mean, obviously, Africentric had some games that they've won by lopsided scores, and then Highland gave them a huge test on Saturday. Ottawa Glandorf had kind of the same path through the postseason, and now they've got a big test awaiting them as well.
Well, he mentioned that his team's very young this year, which is true, but it's also an experienced team at the same time, if that makes any kind of sense, because of Jordan Horston, one of the Coast State Players of the Year, extremely talented young lady, junior, she's going to go big time at some kind of major school. I mean, I believe Connecticut was looking at her earlier this year, if that means anything.
They were at the game that they played against Newark.
Right.
I do remember that.
And then this Alexia Smith they have, sophomore, another very talented player. I would imagine she's going to go to a big-time school in a couple of years as well. Ottawa Glandorf has a really talented player, Katie Hempfling, averages 14 points a game. I believe she was first team all state, I believe. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was released last night, I guess. You know, you mentioned earlier about just the amount of input a coach. You hear coaches all the time say, well, by this time of year, it's like you have sophomores and they should almost be playing like juniors. You have freshmen, they should almost be playing like sophomores. When you've got almost 30 games, you know, into your year, you know, I guess that has to account for something too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and these are 2 teams that have been kind of on the cusp all year of everybody thought they were going to be great teams. The Africentric was ranked 6th in the final state poll. Ottawa Glandorf's ranked 9th. It's looking like it's a pretty interesting state tournament, Division III. Versailles is also in it. They're the number 1 ranked. I mean, they're probably on paper they're the favorite.
Okay.
And then Ulrey Catholic is the other team in it, and they're maybe kind of the sleeper team of the 4 for sure. So I'll be pretty exciting.
Two teams will represent Central Ohio this year, the other one of them being Pickerington Central, and they will play Friday night at 8 o'clock against Mason at Ohio State. That'll be the last of all the semifinal games this weekend. Pick Central's back in state for the first time since 2006. Mason hasn't won a title since 2000, which came against Pickerington, not Central, just Pickerington in those days. The last time that a Dave Butcher team at the original school reached the semifinal. Any early thoughts on just what you've read? I know, obviously, we've changed some information about this one. Any early thoughts on Central getting back as well as Mason?
Well, one thing that I noticed was that all four teams are new to the state Final Four this year. I mean, from last year. None of the, but these have all been some teams that have kind of been on the cusp for a while. If you think about it, I mean, Central was in a regional tournament last year. Mason was in the regional tournament last year. When I got a chance to talk with Gahanna coach Betsy Baker after the regional semifinal last week, she was extremely impressed with Madison Green. She was talking about how she had a 6 assists to 1 turnover in that game. I mean, she's an extremely impressive player. And she's almost got the ball in her hands almost the entire game. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, she is not committed anywhere yet. And she had 13 of her 19 points against Gahanna in the last 8 minutes and 1 second of that game. She hit that buzzer beater to end the third quarter, and that really helped them start to pull away in that game. And then she hit some big free throws down the stretch as well. Malia Perry is somebody that a lot of people talk about, 6'2" forward, headed to Auburn. Bexley Wallace, 6'3" senior forward/center, headed to Penn State. Kyla Whitehead is going to UD, the University of Dayton. She's a 6'1", if I remember my heights correctly, senior forward as well. We've got a lot of talent across the board. I had somebody tell me when we were covering the boys' games this weekend, he said, boy, I'd be shocked if Pickerington Central doesn't win state. Well, you look at any of these teams, Solon and Wadsworth, I don't want to call them graybeards, but of this field they are. They've each been there 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years. This really does seem like a wide-open tournament to me.
Another thing is that Central Ohio they haven't won a state title in Division I for quite a long time. I mean, maybe you know the number. I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head. But Newark last year went into the state tournament undefeated, and really they kind of got blown out. I mean, I think they lost by double digits in that game, and it was, So can Central go in and maybe have a little bit different of an experience in? And that's a big question.
And we'll see. That'll be Friday night at 8 o'clock. And we said the winner of the semifinal gets Solon or Wadsworth coming up on Saturday night. That's the final game of the weekend, 8:30 at Ohio State. Switching to the boys' side of things and staying in Division I. Name sounds familiar. The Pickerington Central Tigers are going to be playing Dublin Kaufman. We'll talk about that game in a minute. I got a little bit ahead of myself, but the first regional semifinal tomorrow night is going to be Hilliard Bradley taking on Reynoldsburg right up the street at Ohio Dominican there. Bradley is the best seed that's left, although when you get to the regional, you can toss the seeds out. They were the only one of the top 5 to survive through the district tournament.
You said, when you were talking about the girls' state tournament here, you said it looks like it could be wide open. I actually have that in my notes for the Division I boys.
Oh, yeah?
I said it looks wide open to me. I mean, I'm not saying, I agree. Bradley would probably be the favorite on paper. Did we think Reynoldsburg would get here? I mean, we thought there was a possibility, but they certainly weren't a favorite to get here. I guess it's kind of shows the depth of Central Ohio.
Well, maybe we should have known this was going to get a little crazy when Mount Vernon beat Pickerington North last week. It was a 16 against a 1, so 16s can beat 1s. And then you saw UA losing to Kaufman on Saturday afternoon, and they were down 7.
Not even that close.
Yeah, they lost by 17, but Kaufman dominated that game probably more than the score would even indicate. Bradley survived. You had 5th seeded Newark going down against Dublin Kaufman. And then the 4th-seeded team in the tournament, and all of a sudden I'm having a real tough time remembering who the 4th-seeded team was. It was Westerville North. They lost to Pickerington Central. So I feel stupid because I cover Pickerington Central on a regular basis.
One thing about Hilliard Bradley is they've been impressive all year. I mean, they're 24-1, and that was for a big chunk of the season without Braden Norris. So, maybe this is their year. I don't know. I think Reynoldsburg will give them a great test because Reynoldsburg seems to be putting together maybe a really strong, I guess, a big 3 to be, stereotypical. With the fact that they've got Trey Williams down low, they can kind of do everything. They're really fast. Trey Williams has played well. Jameel Galladay is a really good guard, and then Ben Fort he's had a couple of really good games here in the district tournament.
Yeah, I saw them play a couple times this year against the 2 Pickeringtons. It was those 3 guys. Trey Williams probably played consistently the best of all of those guys that I saw, and his stock has been rising. You look then closer at the Thursday game, which is Central against Kaufman. Kaufman is one of the teams that you cover. We talked about how they soundly defeated Upper Arlington the other day. Dominic Penn with 30 points, 19 in the first half to really set the tone.
Yeah, it really shows that he can be capable. Man. Boy, he's going to be an exciting player the next couple of years to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to go up against a Central team that doesn't have Jeremiah Francis. Francis told Steve Blackwoods at the Dispatch and me after the district final that it's very unlikely, and those were his exact words, it's very unlikely that he will return this season. He played well without him. They won 9 games in a row. Adrian Nelson had some huge plays the other day. You had Juan Elmore, Talik Walker's the point guard. Javon Garcia had 14 points in that ball game. And this really they're able to spread the ball around.
They've got lots of good players. Yes, maybe they don't have a Jeremiah Francis on his way to North Carolina. They've got lots and lots of good players. So they're a very dangerous team. Dublin Kaufman has lost to Pickerington Central each of the last 2 years in the district final. Can they figure out a way to cross that barrier this year? I think they're a better team. They're a better team than they've been the last couple of years. I mean, there's no disrespect to the last 2 teams, but they were kind of a Cinderella to make it to the district final last year. I think they were only like 13 and 11 when they got there. So,
and that was also a Central team that also had Sterling Manley as a huge presence inside. And not to say, because they do have Colton Landis, a 6'10" kid.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say that this is probably a better Kaufman. And based on what I saw the other day, I wouldn't put anything past them as far as competing with anybody.
And they've got some inside players too. So, yeah, they're a balanced team.
Well, the other divisions, Division 2, you have a couple teams in the area. It's not the first and the third seeds, but it's the first and second, but it's the first and third. Again, you can throw out the seeds when we get to the regional. Beechcroft has to go all the way up to Bowling Green to take on Bay Village Bay, and South will take on Trotwood Madison down at Kettering Fairmont Thursday in Division 2 field.
Beechcroft, the reason that they're such a dangerous team is because they've really got about 5 players that can score. I mean, we think of Jelani Simmons, and he is a great player. He's probably the best of the players that they have on their team. But they've got a lot. Saturday in the district final against Hartley, Elijah Bishop, he's their 5th leading scorer, averages about 10.5 points a game. He came up with 18, made 6 out of 8 free throws in the 4th quarter. They're such an explosive team that's going to make them very dangerous in this regional. And as far as South is concerned, this is it's not. They have some new faces compared to the last couple of years, but it's the same. It's got the same feel as they've had the last couple of years when they've lost in district finals and they're in their 2nd regional tournament. I think he's got a really great program going over there. Coach Ramon Spears does. So.
And those games took place, I believe, right here at Africentric on Saturday. Was it or the Division 2 at least?
Yes.
And South knocked off the 2nd seed in Eastwood, if I'm not mistaken,
right?
The 3-2 game.
Which it was another great game. Could have gone either way. I mean, Eastmore could have won that game, and on a different day maybe they would have. But this time South got it.
Division 3, Africentric will take on Cary. That's tomorrow night at Bowling Green, and then Harvest Prep is going to go down to Ohio University to take on Wheelersburg on Wednesday. Your thoughts on? I believe that's the top 2 seeds in that.
Yeah.
Side that bracket.
Africentric is a very dangerous team because of Trey Bumgarner. Had 33 points in the district championship game Friday night. Exceptional young man for everything I've gathered over the last few months, and he's going to Minnesota State. And they've also got a big guy that's pretty good, Job Bennett.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to be dangerous in this field. And Harvest Prep is the #1 ranked team in the state.
Yeah.
I don't know what else can be said about them. They've got so much depth. And they've got a great young player in C.J. Anthony and a great veteran in C.J. Payne. So they've got all the pieces to go a very long way this year.
We also want to mention the Division 4, the only Central Ohio team playing a little bit beyond our coverage area is Fairfield Christian, and they will play Berlin Highland in the Division 4 regional final Thursday night at Ohio University. Well, we've previewed the girls' state tournament. Next week, we will be somewhere previewing the boys' state tournament. Of course, that depends on who makes it from the area.
Hopefully, we'll have more than one team. I mean, we're guaranteed to get one.
Yeah, absolutely. We always will out of the D1 regional, and we'll see what happens in the other divisions, I suppose. Yeah. Well, good luck covering the girls' state tournament, and obviously, you're going to be a lot of other places
there, Pick Central.
And I will be at ODU on Thursday for the boys, and then for Pick Central on Friday. For Jarrod, Ulrey, I'm Dave Purpura. So long, everybody.